Hey guys, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a knife video for you. Today I want to talk about a product. This is KPL, as well as knife maintenance and lubrication, and a little bit about what to do when you get a knife that doesn't have great action out of box. As far as I'm concerned, there's a bit of a progression there that you kind of go through. I will quickly open up these knives and kind of we're gonna call this a little bit of a testing video. So we will use the KPL and see how it feels, and I'll do a follow-up video in about a week and a half maybe, and just kind of tell you, yeah, are these knives still functioning well? So I have this knife working pretty well the way I want it. This is a steel wheel lanner, and I've got this lubricated with just typical gun oil, which is often what I use. So we're going to see if the action improves at all with KPL. I have nothing in this knife, and it's just a little bit gritty, so I'm going to clean this guy up as well. And when I'm going to take this apart, clean it, and then lubricate it with KPL and see if we get any improvement from, this is just straight from factory, okay? Now I've opened this up a little bit. I actually had to heat this pivot to get it to open. This was locked up really tight. But before I go into taking these apart, let's talk a little bit about the progression that I go through, and sometimes when I do nothing, okay? So many knives will have a little, they're less than perfect out of box, and what are you gonna do about it? Well, first off, you might just wait, okay? Some knives, perfect example is the Benchmade Super Freak here. This knife was, it was fine out of box. It worked well, but it wasn't nearly as smooth and as quick as it is these days. And that's with about a week and a half, 2 weeks of use. It's just smoothed right out and is fantastic. And I did nothing. Okay, so some knives you just have to wait. And that's going to be true of many knives that have phosphor bronze washers, whether it be, a pair of two, a number of Benchmades, lots of knives out there, Rat Model 1, all kinds of things. Now, if your knife comes and it's really bad, so maybe, a perfect example for me that would have me working on a knife is, let's say I got this knife and it worked, okay? So out of box, it flipped well, maybe it was even really good, but when I grabbed the blade, there was a little bit of side-to-side play. Well, that tells me, okay, this pivot is a little bit loose, which means, of course, the blade moves freely, but it's too loose. So I would start tightening that up and see if I could get it to where there's no blade play up and down or side to side, but it still flips really well. And I've got it at that point now, but I will say this took a little bit of work. So what did I do with this knife to get it to this point? Well, first of all, without taking the knife apart, I cleaned and lubricated it. So, I sprayed some forced air through here, put some WD-40 through, and then finally put some oil in there, and I did all of that without taking the knife apart, and it improved a little bit, but it still wasn't great. So then I thought, well, let's let it break in a bit and see what happens. So I gave it about a week to break in, and it was okay, and it got better, but it wasn't really where I wanted it. Finally, I took the whole knife down, and I'll take it down and kind of just show you what I did in a minute here. I'm not going to film that part because it's just too boring, but I will get the knife open and just kind of show you, point at the things that I did. I'll open up this one as well so we can kind of work through a similar process. But I opened the knife up. I did clean up everything, and when I cleaned it, and when I opened it up and cleaned it, I like to use baby wipes for that, but a good quality paper towel will work as well. You just don't want a really cheap paper towel that's going to leave a bunch of, sort of fibers back in your action. That might make things worse. Anyway, I like baby wipes, but a good quality paper towel works as well. Clean everything up, re-lubricate, and see what happens. And if it still doesn't work, then you may actually have to go to this point of polishing the pivot. So let me quickly open these guys up. We're gonna switch out. So right now, this one is from factory, whatever they put on. This one is gun oil. I'm gonna take these apart, I'm gonna clean them, and I'm gonna put KPL in the place of whatever's going on in there now and see if we notice an improvement. So just give me a second here and I'll open these guys up. Okay, so let me just quickly talk about what I've done here. So I've got these knives opened up. By the way, someone was asking one time, is there some kind of an insert in here? And yeah, there is. Whoops. This just, there we go, sits in there like so. All right, so let's pop this guy off. And you can actually see there's even a little bit of dirt on here right now. So I'm gonna clean this guy up. And I'll show you that, take a look at that washer. I have actually polished that washer. I could probably go a little finer, but it seems to work pretty well. I think I used like a 3000 grit. You might like to go to 6,000 or something like that, even higher if you really want to go all out. And so all we're going to do here is put a little bit of, to save time by the way, I've partially put this guy back together. So where would I oil? Where's my KPL? There it is. So I'm just going to take a little bit of KPL here, and I'll drop a drop right in there. Some over here. That washer back on. Just a drop. Now, guys, I'm going to tell you, I don't like a ton of oil on my blades. A little bit is useful, but too much is going to become a problem. It tends to collect junk, tends to run out of there. If I have oil running out of the knife, then it's too much, okay? That's sort of the standard I use. Figure out if I've gotten the right amount. Okay, so everything's lubricated now. You kind of see what I did there. I picked up everything, cleaned it off. I'm going to pause again, close these knives back up, and we'll see how we've done with improving the action. Okay, so I've got these both put back together, and I'll just give you a little test flip. And yeah, you can definitely notice a marked difference. The biggest thing about this one is there was just a bit of dirt and grime in there. So I can't claim that the oil was the only thing that made a difference. The cleaning definitely made a difference as well. But this is really, really nice now. Let's switch over to the lantern. Now this one, before I did this, I had gun oil in it rather than the KPL, and it was running decently fine. And yeah, it's definitely a little bit better. No side-to-side play here. Now this knife isn't really a drop shut knife. It was never, I don't know. It didn't drop shut before, but it's definitely smoother now. It deploys just a little faster. All right, and so that's the progression that I take, guys. Most of the time, I'm not going to open a knife up like I did in this video. Usually, it doesn't take that much to get your knife running the way you want it to. And let me now talk just a little bit about the KPL, give DNF Edgeworks a little bit of a sales pitch. This KPL does work slightly better, I have to say, than the gun oil, at least at this point. So I'm going to give both of these knives a little bit of time to see how the oil holds up. If if I start having problems later and this doesn't work as well, and if I have to go back to gun oil. But let me say this. There are a bunch of lubricants out there. There's Nano Oil, there's Frog Lube, there's Tough Glide. Lots of them are quite popular. I will say some of them are stupidly expensive, okay? By the way, I just saw it sitting sort of in the camera. This is what I used to take these down. I've got a couple of Weehaw sets, and I've got a couple of cheap sets as well. I find Weehaw is definitely the best. Anyway, there are lots of oils out there. I find some of them are really, really overpriced for what you get. And in many cases, sewing machine oil or 3-in-1 or whatever average gun oil you have around the house for your firearms is going to work just as well. Now, I will say this, if you prepare a lot of food with your knife, you want something that's food safe, or the other option is something that I do is I make sure I don't have oil running out of my pivot onto my blade, okay? So in that case, I keep my blades clean, I keep them dry, and then it doesn't matter because it's just steel coming in contact with my food anyway. So just a quick rundown again on the progression. I start off just cleaning and lubricating the knife with it closed. Then if I need to, I'll open it up, I'll clean everything internally, add some lubrication, put it back together. Often that fixes the problem. I had gone so far on this knife as to take it down, clean it again, and actually polish those phosphor bronze washers. And that's what finally made the difference. Now this knife runs really, really well. And of course, your mileage may vary. You may get one that's perfect out of box. You may get one that's a little worse than mine out of box and takes more effort to get it running the way you want to. Okay, KPL, in terms of how this is performed with these two knives, I am very, very happy with it. I can notice a difference in the cleanness and smoothness, and I think that's great. KPL is only like $9, okay? So I think $9.99 for one of these is, or I guess $10. So $9.99 for one of these, and that's not bad at all. I don't know how that translates into Canadian dollars. If you're in Canada, go and touch base with DNF Edgeworks. He can hook you up with some of this. I think he's out of stock right now, but more will be coming. If you're in the US, I'll put a link to the website, to the KPL website, and you can go over there. And I will say this, KPL definitely performs just as well. You know, your average, so here's some 3-in-1 just from the hardware store, and it was $6. Hops usually is going to run you around $9. So, you know, you're paying the same price. Yes, you're not getting as much, I understand that, but you're not paying a crazy amount for a really good knife lubricant that actually comes with a really good applicator as well. So I definitely like that. I haven't, honestly guys, I've only tried Nano Oil a couple of times. I've tried Tough Glide, and I don't own it myself. The times that I've used it has been, hey, I borrowed a couple of drops from somebody else. To be honest, I can't justify the price. You know, $26 or $27 on lubricant doesn't make sense to me when I can do essentially the same thing for, you know, under $10. I know there's going to be some guys out there who are huge fans of Frog Lube or huge fans of Nano Oil and say, you know, that it works better than anything else and nothing compares. There are probably going to be some guys who are huge fans of KPL and would say, yeah, Kevin, throw away everything else, only use that. You know, I find, generally speaking, any low viscosity lubricant is going to be fairly good. I know there's an effort to get away from the oil-based stuff. Again, I don't really care about that. Unless, again, I need something that's food safe, which in most cases I don't. I rarely use my folding knife for food prep. Anyway, there you go, guys. Just a quick aside. I will have a review coming up on this guy. This is the Real Steel Control. It's the White Mountain Knives exclusive, and I've got to say, overall, I'm pretty happy with it. I will, as I say, you know, I haven't had it around for long enough to make any real definitive stuff. And if you're waiting for the full review on the Lanner, that's coming up as well. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of the various lubricants, which one you prefer, and what, if you do anything different than what I do in terms of my sort of sequence of progression that I go through to kind of get a knife running the way I want it to. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will talk to you soon.